I was going to ask you a little bit about your boyfriends because I remember you telling me some stories about being proposed to.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You know, I think it was the war. I keep hoping that that isn't what made Tom, the one I married. But the one that asked me, he proposed in a letter. He was stationed in Alaska, and I know he was homesick and he was in the war.
Yeah.
And he knew me, but he just decided to propose out of the... I felt really terrible because I never thought of him that way. And I'd only had a couple of dates with him.
Okay.
He was the brother of one of my good friends. But by that time, I knew that I liked Tom.
And how did you meet Tom?
Tom. Oh, well, he was very foolish and roomed across the street. I didn't know him the first year he roomed there. And he dated lots of girls. After I knew him, I remembered that I'd seen him in the show with this girl and that girl and that girl.
Do you remember your first impression of him?
Yes, because I had been eating a hamburger with onions, and my girlfriend who knew him, and he was half a block from the house. She says, let's stop and pick up him. I know him. I said, do you remember what we just ate? And we just terrible. The whole car smelled like onion. Why are you picking him up? He lives right there. I'm picking him up, and I'm going to introduce you. His landlady came over to Mother and said, I have these nice boys rooming there, and I think it would be nice for you to have a party for them. And so I had to call him. It took me all day to call him. And he was perfectly willing to come. And that was the first time. And then after he came, and we went out to the country club afterwards and danced, I knew he'd call me again. I just knew he would. And he did. Yep. It was great. I don't remember him proposing. We just kind of drifted into marriage. I remember when he gave me my ring, the day that Eisenhower invaded Europe.
Okay.
And I always think of that. It was June 6th. And I ran right upstairs after he left, and Mother was still awake. And then I could tell her she was happy.
What is the most memorable quality of Grandpa?
He was so good-natured and so amenable to almost everything, never crabby, always a good businessman. He really had a good business and wanted to be his own boss. And he told me before we got married I could have as many children as I wanted. He was just purely nice. Mm-hmm.
And I guess this would be a similar question, but what do you miss the most about him?
Just his being there, I guess. He was just great to have around.
When did you first find out that you'd be a parent?
Well, Tom was going overseas, and of course I was supposedly using, can I say this, birth control?
Sure.
And I don't know what happened. Really, I don't know. But I was down at Fort Riley. We were visiting him there, and from there, they were going overseas. It was a Company B of the Signal Corps. 66 Signal Corps is what it was. And we were all there, and we knew they were going to go. And suddenly, the Coca-Cola didn't taste very good. And I wondered then. But I never told a soul, never said anything. Well, Tom knew. I told him. But I didn't tell my folks because I came home to stay with my folks, you know. I was nervous about telling them, really nervous. I waited to go to the doctor till I was about 3 months. I had to tell him then. I knew Dad would be upset because he waited until after World War I, because he was sure that Tom might be killed and I'd be left with a baby.
Right.
And of course he had a point, I'm sure. But I just knew, I was sure. When you're young, you're sure things are always going to be all right.